Welcome back to the More Sports Please podcast. As you can see, we're down another member. Gavin had some stuff come up, so he will not be in this podcast for the. This is a mock draft podcast, part 1. They'll
Yes, sir.
probably be the draft's what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow.
2 weeks from tomorrow. Yep.
Okay, we'll try to get maybe one of those weeks. We'll try to get 2 out in a week, but no promises. But we're gonna try to at least hit 1 every week up until the draft. Sorry, we're starting a little late, but a lot of shit has been in our lives. As you can see, I am currently working. Should probably go to my page. Yeah, I work at chat, so sometimes nobody ever chats. But if I do have to go away and chat, we'll probably just stop the podcast and go up. But anyways, with that being said, I'm here with Jacob. Say hello.
Howdy. How we doing?
So, we're going to go ahead and start this mock draft. I'm going to minimize this.
Did you make your mock today, Herbert?
The mock I'm using, yes, I made today.
Okay, same for me. This is my 4th attempt, I think. I lost one of them, but I have 3 saved, and this is the most recent one from today.
Okay. I have, I believe, 3 rounders made, and then it looks like 4 first rounds made. I'm not using the first one I did because it was bad.
Oh.
So, we're not gonna go with that one. We're gonna go with my most recent one. So we'll start up with the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select quarterback out of Alabama. I'm kidding. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson.
Yeah,
obviously that's the lock-in pick of the first round of the draft. I think the second one is also kind of a lock-in. In the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU.
Yep, I'm in agreement. I think he's been the number 2 guy for about a month or 2 now at this point, and I think the draft really starts at 3, like it has the last couple years.
I think you're right. So here's where we will kind of go off our ways because he doesn't believe in the smoke screen. And I am falling for it, I guess. With the third pick in the 2021 NFL Draft via Houston from Miami, the San Francisco 49ers pick Mac Jones, quarterback, Alabama.
Okay. I guess I should say, I think I really have no idea where Mac's going to go. I could see him going at 3. I know a lot of people are hyped up on him right now, but for me, I think he's just kind of later in the first round. I've had him bounce around a little bit in my picks, but for me, with the 3rd overall pick, I have the Niners taking Justin Fields out of Ohio State. I think he fits that system with Shanahan really well. And I think since they traded up to get someone, I think they're really sold on a guy, and I think Justin Fields is the best prospect out of them. It could be my bias. I just like Fields as the QB3 in this draft, but I think he'd be the 3rd guy.
No, I'm with you. I think Justin Fields is the 3rd quarterback on the draft board. I think he's the 3rd quarterback on a lot of people's draft boards if they're out of the NFL. For some reason, teams really are high on that Mac Jones character, and I don't know why. He had a terrible pro day.
Mm-hmm.
He's an Alabama quarterback. Of course, he's going to look good.
Right.
But, the same goes with Justin Fields. I just think there's more raw talent behind Justin Fields than there is Mac Jones.
Definitely. Especially in today's NFL, I think your quarterback needs to be able to run, and I think that Mac Jones doesn't quite offer that athleticism you need out of a guy you're taking with the 3rd pick that you traded multiple first-round picks to get. Also, I guess we should clarify, neither of us did trades on this one.
Yeah,
correct?
There's no trades on this one. I've done trades on the other mock drafts, but there's no trades on this one. I just got this one done today. So I think, in my opinion, New England's not going to stay. I think Chicago has a very good chance of trading up. Football team has a very good chance of trading up. Mm-hmm. So we will do trades, but just not on this one, kind of like to ease us into the mock draft process of this year.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few picks on here that I definitely will be saying, like, I think this is a spot where someone trades, but for the sake of this draft, not for this one.
Right. With the fourth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State. I have them going Justin Fields because one of their biggest needs is quarterback. Matt Ryan's days are almost up. I know they're kind of like they want to be in win now situation with Matt Ryan and everybody on that team, but I just think they need somebody for the future to back up behind Matt Ryan, and now's the perfect time to get somebody in Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I that makes sense to me. I think especially with him being originally from, or like he went to school in Georgia before he went to Ohio State. I think that's like a perfect fit. I think that would be a move that I would want to make in that front office. But I think with the moves they've made, it just doesn't signify to me quite as much quarterback. And obviously I already have Fields gone. So with my mock, I have the Falcons with the fourth pick taking Kyle Pitts out of Florida. I think he's just a super dangerous offensive weapon. I think they seem like they're wanting to keep Ryan for another year or two. And I think Kyle Pitts is just a super dangerous guy to put in that system to back him up. Pair him alongside Julio Jones. That's an insane duo to think about.
Yeah, and I think so too. Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, and I know I've in previous podcasts kind of thrown this word around loosely, but I don't really use it with him a whole lot. Kyle Pitts is a generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tight end that can play wide receiver, and he's a wide receiver that can play tight end or whatever. He can do everything.
His real position is just offensive weapon.
Yeah.
Like that's really what he is. You can have him do whatever you want, and I think that would be really appealing to the coaching staff in Atlanta.
Yeah,
and to a lot of teams.
With the fifth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. Not to hate on your organization or anything, but with a guy like Jamar Chase on the board, I don't think they're smart enough to go Penei Sewell, because I've realized I've been saying his name wrong. So I think they go Penei. I've seen a lot of people say it Penei Sewell, and I guess it's not Penny Sewell. I don't know. But I do think you guys go Jamar Chase because I don't think you guys are smart enough to get O-line help for him at the fifth pick, especially with Burrow's guy still up there. Now he's got Jamar Chase. You guys just signed Thaddeus Moss, which will break more news later in the regular podcast, which should be out tomorrow. Right. But I just think Jamar Chase is your guy. I think with the more talk about Jamar Chase, the more it's going to sit into the minds of Bengals workers, higher ups in the organization that, hey, Burrow wants this guy. But
yeah, I obviously I think with mocks that I've seen, barring some where I've seen people have the Bengals trade back, I think most of the time I've seen that from actual like people who follow the Bengals just kind of to throw something else into the mix, just to kind of mix it up. Like, this is something that I think would be good. But for the most part, I think Chase and Sewell are the two guys that most of us think it's going to be. Seems like a lot of people are really headstrong on one guy or the other. I'd be okay with either pick, but I think whichever pick you make should dictate what the Bengals do later on in the draft. And it should be dictated by free agency up till then if we brought in, a Trey Turner or something like that. But for me, I've mocked Chase, I think, once, but this time is not one of those times. For the most part, with the fifth pick, I have the Bengals selecting Penei Sewell. Jamar Chase is someone that I would love to have in there. AJ has done incredible things for the organization over the last decade. Obviously, he's going to play for the Cardinals now, but to replace him with someone like Jamar Chase could make for almost a seamless transition, especially with the change of quarterback. But priority number one has to be protecting Joe, and I can't. For the most part, I can't be sitting here. If I were in that chair, just thinking these two guys are on the board, I have to go with the guy who I think is going to protect my franchise for the next 10 years. And so I have Sewell going to Cincinnati this time and most of the time.
Okay. With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft from Philadelphia, the Miami Dolphins select Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. I think, obviously, that'll be a big help to the Dolphins. Tua will get a big weapon. That Dolphins team will be better than I think they will be next year or last year, even though they were decently good. But I think they'll be better with Kyle Pitts at tight end because that gives you another weapon. But
Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you. Obviously, the pick should be getting Tua some help. So for me, I have with the sixth pick, the Dolphins taking Jamar Chase. If Pitts is there at the sixth pick, I could see that being the selection. But out of the guys left after Pitts' selection, I think Jamar Chase has to be the guy. He just seems like I think everyone's kind of starting to put Jalen Waddle really high on the draft board, but I think Jamar Chase has, for the most part, been the number one wide receiver, and I have him going to Miami.
Okay. With the seventh pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, losing Kenny Galladay, they gotta find a replacement for him just to get back into that receiving core. They still have Marvin Jones, don't they?
Part of me thinks Marvin Jones was on the move, but I could be wrong.
I think
Marvin Jones, he's a Jag now.
Yeah, Marvin Jones is on the Jags. So yeah, they really need a receiver and to get help for I almost said Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff now in Detroit, put in an awful situation. He's got nothing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a yikes. Yeah, I've got Waddle going to the Lions as well. I think he's just obviously he didn't play past I think mid-October last year, but I was trying to watch some tape early on, but then I started getting really busy. But Jalen Waddle is one of the guys that I was lucky enough to watch some tape on. Dude's a beast. There's just no other way around it. He's just got so much talent. He's so good. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be an immediate wide receiver one for that team. So I have Waddle to the Lions as well.
Sorry, I moved my camera so it wouldn't get my work computer.
Oh, you're good. You're
good. Yeah, I think as well. He's a great talent. He's an elite receiver. I think coming off the boards at that pick. He's got the same issues though as Devonta Smith, staying healthy. He's been better build. I think he's a better pick than Devonta Smith, but I do like that pick at Jalen Waddle at Detroit.
Yeah.
With the eighth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Penei Sewell, tackle out of Oregon. They need help to put in front of Sam Darnold. I think now that they've traded for Sam Darnold and traded Teddy Bridgewater on that roster, they don't go quarterback. Even there's still one more left on the board, but we'll get more into them later. I don't think they go quarterback because of the trade. They've got receivers still now and Robbie Anderson. Their defense is still decent. I think they really need O-line protection.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually what I have for my eighth pick as well. Obviously, Sewell's off the board, but with the eighth pick, I've got them taking Rashawn Slater just for the same reasons, especially when you consider they had to give up, quite a bit of draft capital to get Sam Darnold. Your picks then, I think, become more important. So you have to make them right. And I think, as nice as it is sometimes to get a super flashy player, like maybe try to get Devonta Smith to replace, your Curtis Samuel or something like that. You need to get someone to protect in the trenches, defend your guy. So if Darnold's going to have a second shot at his career, he needs some protection. And I think Sewell or Slater, whoever would be there, I think they'd be a very good guy for many years to come.
I agree. With the ninth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. I think we've really all predicted, except for you, that Mac Jones would be we've all predicted that Trey Lance was going to be the one to slide a little bit farther than the others, aside from you. I think you picked Mac Jones a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think Denver gets a quarterback, in my opinion. Whether that's Mac Jones, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance, I think they get a quarterback, and I think it'll be Trey Lance.
Yeah, definitely. I have the same pick with the 9th pick. I have the Broncos selecting Trey Lance as well. I've thought to myself, especially as I've tried to look at the draft and maybe mix it up a bit from mock to mock. To a certain degree, I've had some teams making the same pick the entire time.
I have too.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, would they want to do something different here? But if I am in that organization, obviously they were banking on Drew Lock, and maybe the COVID year caused some issues in him playing well, no training camp with his teammates and stuff. But you're sitting there in that top 10 spot in a loaded quarterback class. You don't know if you're going to have that high of a pick again anytime soon. I take that on a guy who I think you're just banking on upside with Trey Lance, and I think you kind of let them have a quarterback contest between Drew Lock, Trey Lance. Both of those guys to me scream, high upside. Obviously Drew Lock's running out of chances, but I think you want out of those two guys, you feel like one of them has to be good,
right?
So, yeah.
And I was going to add more to that, but I forget what I was going to say. With your topic of picking the same players for every mock, I think these 1, 2, 3 next 4, I think I've drafted the same players every single time except for one mock draft where I just went crazy.
I think I've seen a lot of similarity here in this mock as well. Sorry, I actually clicked on the wrong mock, and I just got lucky that I had the same pick here. But it looks like I mixed it up 1 point. Oh, I actually mixed it up on this one, but we'll get to that.
With the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain, the second out of Alabama, cornerback. They need cornerback help. He's the best available, in my opinion, on the board still. So I think Dallas they get 2 birds with 1 stone, best available and a need. And I honestly, unless Denver shocks us and picks somebody else, I think he's 100% going to end up in Dallas.
Yeah, I have the same pick. I've had him go to Dallas every time so far. I can't think of the last time I saw a mock that didn't have Patrick Surtain going to the Cowboys. Maybe Dallas shocks all of us and picks someone else on draft night, but I think that's about the range Surtain should go as the first corner in this class, and they need the help desperately. I think that's a great pick for them in terms of value and positional needs. So 100% agreement.
And with the 11th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State. I think I've done 2 mock drafts where he slid out of, because I've just had the Giants go because they came out saying they were happy with Devonta Smith and all this other blah blah blah. But in reality, the Giants need an edge or they need a linebacker. So I think Micah Parsons fits the mold.
Yeah, definitely. For the most part, I've been in a similar viewpoint in that regard. I've had Micah Parsons go to the Giants just about every single time. But for the sake of a little bit of variety on this past mock, I decided to mix it up a bit, especially because I kind of feel like what's the GM's name? Is it Gettleman?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes he's made like
questionable decisions,
interesting selections. I'll put it that way. Interesting picks in the draft.
Yeah, Micah Parsons actually might be too perfect for the Giants to take. So you might be right on this. They don't take him.
Yeah, I think that's about where he should go, and I think it's a good selection. But for the sake of mixing it up, after 3 straight mocks with him going to the Giants. I was like, what else could I see happening? And one of the other positional needs that I've seen listed a lot for the Giants is corner. So I've got them on here taking maybe a little bit of a reach, but taking J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. Actually, probably not much of a reach in terms of where he should be in the draft, but I think he could help shore up that secondary. I think it's a pretty solid pick, in terms of player value and where it should be. Giants could use some upgrades just on that defense in general. Linebacker, I think, is the number one, but just for the sake of mixing it up, J.C. Horn to the Giants.
Now, what was the situation last year? If the Eagles won, the Cowboys would have been in playoffs, right?
If the Eagles won, the Giants would have been in the playoffs. The Cowboys would have been in that same situation if they beat the Giants. So, like, if the Cowboys won that game against the Giants, then it was going to be Washington or Dallas.
Okay. So,
same.
I wouldn't 100% roll out the Devonta Smith pick here because the Giants being petty, and and them needing a receiver as well. I could 100% see them taking Devonta Smith just to yank them out of Fiddley's hands and not give them a receiver, because for years that has been the Philadelphia Eagles' Achilles heel. They've needed receivers.
If Gavin was here, he'd be getting some CD Lamb PTSD at the moment.
Yeah, I remember that. But I can 100% see the Giants doing that.
Yeah, I could too.
Speaking
it's an interesting pick, I think.
Yeah.
I think they've got a lot of things they could fill in. I think most of us have Parsons there, but I think they could go a lot of different directions with it.
With the 12th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft via San Francisco from Miami, the Philadelphia Eagles select Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. A lot of question marks with him. I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong. He's lit up defenses in college, but his build, is he going to be healthy? How long will he stay healthy? There's a lot of question marks that, in my opinion, that puts him as at least number 3 receiver on the board. He's really good, but there's a lot of question marks surrounding him.
Yeah, I get that. His build is a little bit concerning, but I think maybe he can overcome that. I think I think he's one of the hardest working prospects I've seen in this draft. And I think that the Eagles are in desperate need of a receiver. I have them taking Devonta Smith as well. I think despite the question marks surrounding him, unless something major somehow came up, which I doubt it would, but if something came up, physically or with a troubled past or something that never reared its head before for some reason, then they could maybe reconsider it. But I think if you're Howie Roseman in that spot, I know we've said this with Justin Jefferson and whoever else before, but I don't see how you can't pick him. He's just, I think we're starting to maybe think Chase or Waddle could be receiver 1 and 2 over Smith. At one point, I had Smith as number 1. Now I have him as number 3. I think they're all very good, but there is a major tier gap between those 3 and the rest of the pack. If you are there and he is still there and the Giants don't take him, you have to make that pick. I don't see how you can't. Especially if you're wanting to throw Hurts to the wolves and have them go out there with him and try to make a career with him, you need to get him some help.
Yeah. And I think they could go either way. They could take J.C. Horn, they could take an offensive tackle, but I think with the injuries, most of their players will be back. They really need to get them a receiver. Jalen Reagor did not cut it last year. And they have to keep adding.
Yes.
With the 13th 100%. Pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, Northwestern. They need to get protection for their team is almost. There's not a whole lot of need on that team. I don't think their defense is solid, their offense is solid. They just need protection for Herbert.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in agreement. Honestly, that caught me off guard. I forgot that you had Rayshon Slater still on the board, so I was like, oh yeah, he's still an option. Um, you know, uh, I'm in agreement. That Chargers defense is one that quietly on paper is really good. They've got loads of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Herbert obviously is insane. He proved all of us wrong. They've got lots of receiver talent, and they got Austin Eckler in there too. But you have to protect Herbert, and I'm in the same boat. I don't still have Rayshon Slater there, so I have them taking Christian Darrisaw. Um, who I could see as the third tackle coming off the board. But either way, I think they need offensive line help. You got to protect your franchise guy now that you've got him. So, yeah.
I agree too. With the 14th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Elijah Vera Tucker, interior offensive lineman, USC. Again, another team with hardly any big needs aside from safety and offensive line, maybe some other spots on defense, but you got to protect Cousins. If you want to get Justin Jefferson more touches, you got to protect Cousins so Cousins get the ball to him.
Yep, definitely. I actually have the same pick. I have Elijah Vera Tucker going to the Vikings. And with the last three mocks, I don't know about the first one. Again, I forgot to save it. But with the last three mocks I've done, I've had him go to the Vikings every single time. That's just a team that's pretty solid for the most part across the board. You got some holes here and there, but the biggest one is offensive line. You got to protect your Cousins, and
You gotta
just
protect your Cousins.
you gotta protect your cousins, man.
You gotta protect your Cousins.
They're your homies, but you gotta protect Cousins, and then looking to the future. Just with age and production levels, I think in the next 4 or 5 years, Minnesota is going to be having a different quarterback sometime in there. But I think Darrisaw could be a guy to protect him, whoever that is, for the next several years. So, it's not a super sexy pick. It's not Justin Jefferson from last year, but sometimes you got to make those picks and show some love to the big uglies up front.
I agree. With the 15th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Like I said, I don't see New England keeping their pick here. They really don't have a lot of needs aside from quarterback, so I do see them kind of trading back unless Mac Jones or Trey Lance are still on the board.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I could definitely see that. I have had the Patriots a couple times recently in my mocks take Mac Jones. I've had him go here, but again, trying to make things a little bit different here and there. Maybe Mac Jones continues to slide, but also for another layer to it, the Patriots always, a lot of the times, not so much the last several years, but in the past, the Patriots are renowned for getting steals and finding really good talent, or taking in guys that wouldn't be taken elsewhere. So here I have the Micah Parsons slide coming to an end. I have Parsons going to the Patriots. If there are, that's again a big if. I could see them going Mac Jones if he's still there. I could see them trading up, trading back. It's a really weird spot for them.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked about it off of here, but it's kind of one of those deals of you don't really know unless there's someone they really want to see or really want to get early, or no one's there that falls to them. Because aside from Parsons or Jones being there, it's kind of a wasteland in terms of their picks. Anything they do would kind of be a reach, it seems like, depending on their needs. But with Parsons falling in this mock, I have them selecting him. I think it's great value with him falling that far. Same deal that you had them take Owusu Koromoa, but I still have the linebacker 1 on the board, so have them take him.
Yeah, and I can see Michael Parsons sliding, but it's just whether the Giants are smart enough to take him or not.
Mm-hmm.
With the 16th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select J.C. Horn, cornerback, South Carolina. I do see a lot of mocks where they take running backs, but now with Connor coming into the mix in Arizona, I don't think they get running back here.
Right.
One of their biggest needs on defense is corner. J.C. Horn kind of fits that area, so I think it's a perfect fit for Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. I am in a similar agreement. Again, it's one of those deals of once someone makes a different pick, it seems to really cause the draft to kind of shuffle. And again, with the Giants pick of J.C. Horn in my mock, it kind of really is still having the dominoes fall a different way. I've had Horn go to the Cardinals a couple different times in my mocks. Just looking back at the other ones I have saved up here. But with them in that spot, kind of similar to the Patriots, not really any super great value with their needs. Running back was the first thing I thought of, but Connor has recently been picked up by the Cardinals, so that's kind of gone. You got Chase Edmonds, you got James Conner. I don't see you taking a running back in the first round, especially in the middle of it. So I've got them taking Greg Newsome. This is another spot. If the draft went this way, I could see the Cardinals trading down. Greg Newsome, I think, would be there. Maybe sometime in the early 20s. But for the sake of continuity here, I think that's a solid pickup based on your need. I think it's the best thing they could do, but there aren't too many great options there. For the Cardinals, such as the struggle of picking number 16 in the draft.
With the 17th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. Especially with cutting half their O-line or all their O-line and re-signing half them back, they need to build protection back up for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Obviously, like I said on this mock, Darrisaw is gone, so I have them taking Tevin Jenkins, just the next best guy at tackle. According to the big board, the generic big board, I should say. I haven't made a big board for myself. Frankly, this college season has been weird. Obviously, no one seems to know as much as they do in the past with players, so just kind of going off of hearsay to a certain degree. But, they need to protect Carr. I think with how well Carr did last year, I think they stick with him for a little bit. I still have Jones on my board at this point, but I think they stick with Derek Carr for a little bit. I think I remember last year I had a mock where they took Tua after he slid for a bit just for fun. But Tevin Jenkins, good tackle option, protect your guy. Got to go with him.
With the 20th pick or the 19th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, sorry, I completely skipped over a team. With the 18th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Phillips, edge out of Miami. Not too many needs for Miami aside from, needing a running back maybe, and then some stuff on defense and maybe protection for Tua. But like I said, you already no, you don't. I lied. You get Kyle Pitts, but you don't need too much to fill in that Dolphins roster. But I think an edge would definitely not solidify, but would definitely help that defense out.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with all the picks they've gotten, they've been able to get a lot of luxury picks in here. They seem like they had that last year, and this year as well. And I have them doing the same selection. I have Jalen Phillips going to the Dolphins as well. I think this is about the range that you start to see some of the edge rushers here. There doesn't seem to be any, Von Miller, Jadeveon Clowney type prospects in this year's class, but I think there's a lot of fairly solid talent across the board, and I think this is about where you start to see them go, and I think that could fill in a big hole for the Dolphins. So Jalen Phillips makes sense.
With the 19th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Washington football team select Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. He's best available there, I think. They really need some help on that offensive line a little bit to get, especially if they're trying. I mean, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, unless they want to swap Ryan Fitzpatrick and get what's his fucking name,
Taylor Heineke.
Taylor Heineke. Went blank there for a second. Or if they want to swap out Ryan Fitzpatrick, get Taylor Heineke, a couple snaps in there here and there. They need some protection for him. They've got their receivers now. I don't think they hit wide receiver in this pick with now getting. They've got Terry McLaurin and bringing in his old college teammate and Curtis Samuel, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they go receiver.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I could definitely see them going tackle, or just anything on offensive line to a certain degree. Actually, I'm not sure. I would say tackle. Yeah, I think they could use some more protection. I don't remember exactly what the offensive line is looking like entirely in Washington and who's there and stuff, but I could see that as being a pick. But let's see here. I think I've mocked Tevin Jenkins at one point. Yeah, I did. But for this one, Tevin Jenkins is gone. So I think they kind of just start to go best available and trying to fill some needs. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah slides a little bit. So, getting some solid value out of the second linebacker in the class. I think that's a pretty decent best available kind of pickup. So that's what I had for them there.
Okay. With the 20th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. They need help to get Andy Dalton, a quarterback, unless they end up trading up for or get Andy Dalton wide receiver help, not quarterback. I was thinking quarterback for them trading up just in possibility, but they need to get him help because something about. I mean, obviously they have Allen Robinson, who may or may not play this year off the franchise tag, so we'll see that. And then they think Anthony, what's his fuckface name?
Shoot.
The one of their second wide receivers they've talked about trading.
Is it Anthony Miller? Yeah,
Anthony Miller.
Anthony Miller.
I believe they've talked about letting him go or trading him. So they need help to solidify their receiving core. There's a lot of needs for that Bears team. They did a lot better than they should have. So I think they go receiver.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. I guess this has turned a little bit into a mix-it-up podcast mock draft for me. I guess I should have saved that closer to the end and done my more accurate one to what I think would happen. But if this happens, if this plays out this way for the Bears here, there's no way they can't make this pick. But like I said, I could see this player going very high. This is the absolute lowest I could see him going. If Mac Jones is available at number 20, you do not pass him up if you are the Chicago Bears. There is no way. I mentioned that you said you had him going with the third pick. There's been a lot of hype on him. Like I've said, I'm not super high on it myself, but I could see him going much earlier than here. But for the sake of playing devil's advocate and saying what is the furthest down he could go or how far can he range in this draft, I don't think he goes any lower than here. People talk about him being a second round grade. If that's how you feel, whatever. I still think he's a first round quarterback, but there's no way he gets past the Bears. There's just no way that he's sitting there and you don't snag him up. I could see them trading up to get him. But if they sat pat and he was still there, they have to take him.
I agree. With the 21st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. Colts roster is it's pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Aside from really that secondary, they need to get a corner. And with Caleb Farley still on the board, he's a perfect take for them.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I agree with that. To me, especially since I had Greg Newsome go earlier in this mock, I think it's a little bit of an interesting spot with the Colts, as I think their roster is very good overall. And I think that they're in a good spot to kind of just go best player available. So I had them do that in this particular spot. So I have them taking edge rusher Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. I think this is where you start to see a bunch of edge rushers go off the board around this point in the draft. And I think some teams are just going to kind of be, especially in this early mid-20s kind of spot, I think a lot of teams are going to be like, we don't have anything here that really fills in a need around this value for sure. I mean, Caleb Farley or Newsome could go here, but I think a lot of teams are going to start to go for edge rushers in this spot, and I think it would be a decent pickup for the Colts.
I could see that. With the 22nd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Terrence Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. Losing Corey Davis hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So they really need a number 2 guy. Obviously AJ Brown's going to be their number 1 guy going forward. He's always has been. But they need a number 2 guy. And I don't think Adam Humphries is that guy if he's still there. But they need this number 2 guy, and I think Terrence Marshall has a shot of being that. I think I have him go farther. I think this might be a reach, but I think it's a solid pick for the Titans.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in a similar boat, but I still have Rashad Bateman on the board, so I have them selecting Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. Same reasons. I think whatever your perceived number 1 wideout there is, you kind of have to roll with him. To a certain degree, I could also see them again going with edge rushers like the Colts or any other team in this range, especially with the lack of production they had last year, despite having, Jadeveon Clowney and who was the other one? There was someone else.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember. I could see them definitely going edge rusher here, but losing Corey Davis, I think your team is starting to have an identity of you're going to win on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Rashad Bateman is going to help you be able to spread the field a bit more and get more help to Tannehill.
With the 23rd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets from Seattle, the New York Jets select edge rusher Kwity Paye out of Michigan. The Jets team still got a lot of rebuilding to do.
Mm-hmm.
And with bringing in Corey Davis, guys like that will help. But I definitely think they need a lot of help on the defensive side, starting with an edge rusher.
Yep. I am in agreement. I have them taking Kwity Paye as well. And I think I've actually mocked him to the Jets about every single time. So I think this is about the perfect range for him to go. I think this is kind of that perfect union of best player on the board as well as filling a need for the Jets. So I think that Kwity Paye to New York makes a lot of sense. I think he could be a foundational piece for you to continue that rebuild on. But overall, you need some talent to fill in a lot of holes. And I think that's a pretty good place to not start since they already grabbed Zach Wilson, but, keep doing that.
With the 24th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. I'm pretty biased, as you can see. There's a custom-made Najee Harris jersey, so I really hope they take him. We need a running back, but we also need an O-line. Sorry about that. So I really hope we get Najee Harris or a very, very, very solid offensive lineman. But Najee Harris is a perfect fit. Everybody on the roster, everybody that I've seen. Juju's been trying to lobby for him. Minkah Fitzpatrick said something good about him, so it would be awesome if we could get Najee Harris.
Yeah, I could see the Steelers going a few ways. They're not like the Patriots or the Jets or something else where you have a lot of options or areas where you can't go wrong, because for the most part the Steelers are still in win now mode, and I think there's only 2 or 3 things that you need to work on and could consider in the first round. I've had them try a few different things, but I've been hearing you talk a lot. I don't really know much of what goes on in Pittsburgh. I don't actively follow the Steelers at all, but especially after Connor leaving and for sure being gone now that he's in Arizona, and everything that you've said with how the interviews have gone and the players really wanting him there, I think Najee Harris makes a lot of sense. And I find myself, whenever I think about who the Steelers would take, I find myself needing more to convince myself why wouldn't they take Najee Harris rather than why would they, So I think Najee Harris makes a lot of sense. I think he could really help that ailing rushing group, and just open the playbook a lot more.
Yeah, I think so too. We haven't really had a solidified running back for a bit since Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Connor's had a few ups and downs, but last year we've been terrible in the running in the running stat for the past 3 years. So it's time for that to change.
And if a running back is going to go in the first round and you're starting to look at outside of years where you have a Saquon or a Zeke or something like that, one of those generational type talents, I think this is about where you start to see that happen. So I think that makes a lot of sense as well from a value standpoint.
With the 25th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft from the Los Angeles Rams, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevon Moehrig, safety out of TCU. What are you doing, Aurora? Jacksonville still needs a lot of help on that roster. Their defense still needs to build up, and I think safety is a good start.
Yep, I am in agreement. I have had Trevon Moehrig go to the Jags just about every time as well. You already got your franchise quarterback. Obviously, you could still use a lot of help. On the offensive line and receiving as well, I would say. You brought in Marvin Jones, but it's him and not much else. I think they kind of have their pick of the litter. Whoever they fall in love with is going to be whoever they want. But I think Trevon Moehrig is going to be a good way to start to round out that back end of the defense and not bring back Saxonville, but start to at least get that respect back of being a strong defensive force.
Right. With the 26th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Christian Barmore, interior defensive lineman out of Alabama. Just after breaking news of them signing Jadeveon Clowney, which we'll talk more about in the upcoming podcast, I had them taking an edge rusher. Looked at my phone and see Clowney was a Brown, so I had to redo the next couple picks. So I think Christian Barmore is pretty solidified for Cleveland.
Yeah, they could still use a bit of D-line help. Obviously, assuming Clowney comes in and does what you expect him to do, I think that edge rusher isn't going to be what they want. So I have the same pick, taking Barmore. Cleveland's in another spot where it's like they don't have too many huge holes on that roster. I think there's a lot of areas that you can maybe try to upgrade on personnel somewhere, but I think they do a really good job of coming together and functioning as a team. And I think Barmore just makes sense from the defensive front, which I think was one of the areas that he could use improvement in the most. So, I mean, I think Cleveland's in a good spot for, it's been a while since we saw them pick this late in the draft, and it's kind of refreshing to see. But
no, it's not. It sucks. I hate that this. My eye is killing me with allergies. It sucks that they're this far back because I'm not fucking used to it, and I hope it's never like this again. Hopefully, they're like the 2017 Jags, and they're just the one-hit wonders. So, with that being said, the 27th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Isaiah Lajawari, edge rusher out of Georgia. Baltimore has lost a lot, and I think starting with edge rusher would really help with losing Matthew Judon and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll help them out a lot.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Edge rusher and receiver are huge for Baltimore. I've got them taking Jason Owe. Obviously had Azeez Ojulari go earlier. So got Owe coming in out of Penn State with Baltimore. Just trying to shore up that defense a bit and, keep playing that old school, fierce defensive football that they're known for. Those, I think, really edge and receiver are the only two things that they really need to work on. So I could see them going either way, but I think edge rusher is the bigger need.
Yeah, I think so too. With the 28th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Greg Newsome II, cornerback out of Northwestern. The Saints, other than not having a proven quarterback to win, don't really have that many holes.
Mm-hmm.
But a cornerback to line up against Marshawn Lattimore would be good. So I have them going Greg Newsome.
Yeah. I don't know why I had Caleb Farley slide this far. I think I've seen him go a lot earlier, quite a bit. But Caleb Farley, I have him going to the Saints here. If he's still available, I think you kind of have to take him if you're New Orleans. I think that he's a really solid talent. And the Saints, they don't have many holes on that team, but honestly, I think they're about to need to go into rebuild mode soon, just considering the cap hell they're in and how they're going to have to restructure everything pretty soon. I think Caleb Farley will be a good foundation piece for the secondary for years to come. So it can help them with any efforts they have to win now still over the next year or two with Jameis or Taysom, whoever it is, and, help them build back up whenever they need to start shuffling around some pieces.
With the 29th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Dylan Raduns, offensive tackle, North Dakota State. They need help to protect Aaron Rodgers. Receivers are also one of their bigger needs, but there's not many receivers on the board unless you feel like reaching here. But I think they go offensive tackle.
That makes sense. Personally, I had them reach a little bit on receiver. I think it's just they need to get some help on the receiving side. I mean, Devonta Adams is great, obviously, but Rodgers needs some help desperately on the receiving front. So I had them taking Elijah Moore here. I think I've had him go to the Green Bay once or twice outside of this one as well. But, I mean, to me, it's just you need some playmakers. You need some guys to go out there and be able to just help open up the playbook a little bit more for Rodgers so he doesn't have to keep relying on a double-covered Devonta Adams and sometimes Valdez Scantling. So that's That's it.
Yeah, I could see that. The 30th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Jason Owe, edge out of Penn State. I think they need edge rushers. That Bills roster is just solidified, though. I mean, there's not too many holes on that Bills roster. There's not too many holes on the next couple teams, but
obviously,
yeah, I think the Bills could get a solid edge rusher this far in the draft. I think they take it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've had a lot of edge rushers go earlier. Kind of a little bit of an edge rusher arms race in the early and mid 20s, but again, I'm kind of in that boat of there's not too many areas you need to fill in if you're Buffalo. But for me, I think they could really use, if anything, I kind of think a luxury pick here, and I have them taking Travis Etienne out of Clemson. Just kind of helping that rushing attack and coming out of the backfield, just giving yet another weapon to Josh Allen to use. I think it's obvious they're going to be able to put up a lot of points on you, so why not keep adding on to that with even more talent?
Okay. With the 31st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Samuel Cosmi, offensive tackle out of Texas. They need offensive line help after everything that happened there, but their roster's still pretty good. And I think offensive tackle, at least offensive line, is a good start for them.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think there's so many offensive linemen that can start in this draft. I think they're in a pretty good spot despite, taking the 5th or 6th tackle off the board, but I also have them taking Samuel Cosmi. They are the last couple years, I think I've had them taking just whoever else, whoever just kind of helps a little bit to win now. But right now, their roster is still, for the most part, really, really good from top to bottom. But that glaring hole on the offensive line just needs to be filled. So got to take someone there. We both had Samuel Cosmi, but they've got to just get someone in to fill in on that spot.
And with the 32nd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. Even though they just signed Giovanni Bernard, and they still have Leonard Fournette and I believe Ronald Jones, I think adding Travis Etienne for the future would be a solid pick. But it's just kind of like they're picking best available right now. There's not too many holes in that roster.
Right, yeah. Definitely. I'm in agreement. I've actually had ETN going to Tampa for a couple mocks just because apparently I just love the idea of Super Bowl champs taking a running back with the last pick in the first round. But for this one, I actually had them go, as silly as it may sound, I had them taking Kadarius Toney, the receiver out of Florida, just because I think they're just in such a good spot that they can just take whoever they want. I think you could maybe get a decent receiver to add to that stacked receiver core for now. And then later on, when you're in the post-Tom Brady era, maybe he's still there and can be a decent piece for the future. Pick whoever you want. Tampa Bay, they can take whoever they want, and just for this one, why not just add even more onto the receiving core? Maybe he thought he was going to get Julian Edelman, but he'll have to settle for Kadarius Toney instead.
Yeah, one of their biggest needs, I think, is receiver. But, I mean, with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, possible Antonio Brown returning, they really don't have any big needs.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a really help you now, but even better for the future sort of deal, because wasn't Godwin franchise tagged?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think AB, he's probably just going to be on 1-year deals for the rest of his career, be that in Tampa Bay or anywhere else. So, if they get both of those guys back, I mean, obviously they've got Godwin back, but if they get AB back, he's going to be receiver 2 or receiver 4. A couple years from now, you may need a solid receiver 2, and he could be that guy. They're just in such a good spot.
Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to end it. That is round 1 mock drafts for us. We're going to try to come out at least with one every week, like I said. So give us your opinions in the comments below on YouTube, or message me if you have all my social media. This will be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. And Gavin should be back in the next one. Peace.
See ya.